Now let's move forward with our database build and have a little bit more fun with it. So in previous tutorials, here's what we've done. Using that data dictionary document, we created an orders master table. So let's have a look. I'm going to double click with various fields in it. I'll go to the design view in the home tab, and we created these fields. I just finished off the rest for you. And the only other new comment that I've put in is that in Access 2013 and beyond, long text is actually memo, right? So I want to show you a few things in here. I want to create a brand new field that is going to take unit price. So price is what we sell the product for. So I want to take unit price and multiply it by quantity. And that will give us revenue. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert a new field called revenue, and we could insert it at the bottom, but I want to insert it here after quantity. So click right here in the left, right click, insert, and let's call it revenue. So you can call it sales as well if you want. Nice clean word. And the type is actually currency. It will end up currency somehow, but we want to call it calculated, you see? So when you go to calculated, you'll get this box here. Now don't kind of be bothered by it. I know there's a lot of stuff. Just follow what I'm trying to tell you so that you don't get lost. So take a look. These are your fields, right? What is it that we want to do? We want to take unit price multiplied by quantity. Now you double click on unit price and it will show up here. Now you notice the square brackets, those are a must. That's Access's way of saying that is an exact field name. What do we want to do at unit price? We want to multiply it. So star or asterisk is actually the multiply symbol. And there's no spaces, by the way, right? Multiply by what? By quantity, right? Now if you think about it, you can do all sorts of calculations if you like. For example, if you wanted unit price times quantity, which is your revenue, I'm going to click OK, and I have a field that is calculated. Now you don't have too much in terms of decimal places and so on. You can certainly format it down here for currency, but you don't have the option to change the decimal places. We'll do that later, okay? So let's save this, close it, and let's have a look. Go back to Order Master, scroll over to the right, and you'll see a field here called Revenue. It took that and multiplied by that. Perfect. It also has a bunch of decimal places that I really don't want. So let me show you how to fix that, okay? Close it. So let's go to Order Master. Do you remember we created that in the last tutorial? I just made it look a little bit better. You can play around with it, align everything. I left some spaces blank on purpose. Do you remember we put buttons on it for previous record, next record, the save button? I want to add a new field in here. So we created revenue. Where is it? Where's the revenue? It's not there. You actually have to go to Design View. And remember, add existing fields up here. It is from this table, so you can click Show All Tables if you want to see the other tables, but it is from the Order Master table, and the field is right there, revenue. So either double click or move it over. And let's close this box. So you remember each field has two parts to it. There's a label up here, the text that you can change, and this is the bound box. So don't touch what's in here. That's good. Leave it alone. And if I click on this gray box here, I can just move this over, and that's really what you want to practice. Let's make that a little bit smaller. Now I'm going to put it somewhere. I'm going to put it down here. So take your mouse, highlight all of this, right? We want to move that whole block together. So see what I'm doing? Go like this. If you go a little bit ahead, it's going to highlight a bunch of other stuff as well. So practice that. Take this, get the 4 arrows right on the edge, move it down, maybe a little bit more, and click on this rectangle. Let's make that a little bit bigger, and move the revenue box over. So align it nicely. There we go. That looks pretty good. Again, fix this up. You know, count the dots, 2 dots on either side. Take this. Oh, too much. Let's take this and move it up. So now we have a revenue field. Let's take a look. Save it. Go to this view, and it's right there. Now it's a little bit short. Okay, I'm gonna fix it. Don't worry. But along the way, I also want to remove the decimals from here, put commas in here. I already put commas here, and maybe commas in here as well. So let's go back to Design View. Let's make that box just slightly bigger, right? Not too much. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm going to right click on this box, right? Revenue. Right click, and at the very bottom you're going to see this thing called Properties. So go to Properties, And don't worry, there's a ton of stuff here. It looks like what programmers might be looking at. Don't worry about it at all. Just stick to what I'm trying to show you, right? So first of all, the field is called revenue. The control source is a field called revenue in the table. The format is currency. Here's your decimals. Let's make it 0. Okay. Now all this other stuff, if later you want to kind of play around with it, I'm sure you can left justify or right justify your numbers, different types of borders and so on. But if you don't want to play around with it, that's okay too, right? So let's click out here. Actually, let's close this. Let's fix gross weight as well. So right click, properties. There's your decimals. Let's make it 0. Close this. Let's right click on transit claim, properties, and let's make that currency 0. It's already there. Okay, perfect. Good to go. Let's take a look. Save it. And the numbers look a little bit better. So gross weight, actually, I forgot to put the comma in, but you can certainly go back and fix it. Now, I want to show you one other feature. Let's take a look at ship costs, right? If ship costs are quite high, like over $10,000, I want to conditionally format them. And you'll remember that from Excel, maybe to change red, right? So we're going to conditional format any ship costs that are more than red. And let's say if they're kind of not too expensive, but not really cheap, between $5,000 and $10,000, let's make them orange. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's go to Design View. Right click on ship cost, and you'll see conditional formatting down here. So, first rule, if the number is between 5,000 and 10,000, what is it you want to do? Well, you can bold it, italics, underline, change the font color. I want to change the background color right here. Let's make it orange, right? Click OK. Let's add one more rule. If it is greater than 10,000, what do you want to do to it? Let's see. Let's make it red. Okay, that's fine. Let's make it red. Click OK. And you could do a lot of them, actually. And don't forget, if you did too many, to delete the rules that don't belong. So let's click OK. And while we're here, I want to show you one more thing. Take a look. You see these fields for NAFTA and CETA? Right now, they're checkboxes. Check means yes. So the actual value in the table is YES. If I uncheck it, it is no. So if you wanted to change that from a checkbox to an other option, like a round button, take a look. Right click, right on the box, go to Change To, and you have choices here, toggle button and option button. So if you do option button, it turns around, right? Let's do this one. Right click, Change To, and toggle button is just really, actually it's useless. Don't use it. It's like a switch. If you press it, it changes color. If you unpress it, it changes to another color. But unless you're going to write down what each color means, don't bother using it, right? Let's change that to an option button. I like those features. They're pretty good. So let's save it. Let's take a look. Works, see? That means yes, that's a no. I can make that into a no. And this works as well. So let's scroll. See? Red, orange, red. There should be some that are under $5,000. There you go. You see them. And my numbers have been fixed up as well. So that's pretty cool. Now, take a look. Sometimes you don't want to use your mouse when you input data. You want to start at the top. You want to press tab. Now look what happens when I press tab. It's jumping all over the place, back and forth, back and forth. So there is a way to control which order your tab goes to, right down to the save, right? So that's a command button. I'm going to start here, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way down, then here, then all the way here. And the way you do that is to go back to Design View, right click in here somewhere, and go to Tab Order, okay? Now take a look. This is a list of all the fields on your form. That's the order they will go in. So here's what I'd like to do. It'll be Order ID, then Product, so just move that over, then Customer, then Country, and so on. Okay, and the tab order will work. Okay, so let's save that. Now, imagine while you're filling out this form, there's some fields that absolutely need to be put in, meaning if you don't put them in, it won't let you save it. Now, you've probably gone on the internet to fill out a form, and there's some fields with little stars next to it that you have to put the information. They're called a must or required, that if you leave them blank, you cannot save the record. So I'm going to set up a couple of those. First of all, I think you need an order date, you need the product, and you need the name of the customer. Those three things absolutely have to be there in order to start a sale and save it. Here's how you do it. Get out of here. go back to the order master table, go to design view, and click on product, right? You have to select a product. Down at the bottom, it says required, yes, no. Let's set that to yes. Let's go to customer. Down here, it says yes, no, and if it was no, you would set it to yes. And the other one I think we need is order date. So let's click there. It says no. Let's set that to a yes. Now, while we're here, one more interesting thing. Let's say there was a validation rule. For example, the quantity sold cannot be less than a certain amount. So I'm going to put a validation rule down here. So click on quantity. We will not sell any quantities that are less than 5. So the order has to be at least greater than or equal to 5. Now, if somebody types in an order that's, let's say, 4, you might want to give them a little message that says, must be 5 or more. And that would be a little message that the person can get. Now, another thing is if you have a default value. So, for example, in country, if most of the orders are for the USA and you want USA to start off first, you can actually put in a default value of USA and that will show up. Then you can delete USA to change it if you like. Okay, so it's a little feature that you can put in. I'm going to save this, and you'll always get some error message, of course, right? Just keep clicking yes because you know everything you did is okay. Let's close that. So now I'm going to go to the driver master table that I've already created for you in a similar manner. Let's double click on it, and you'll notice that I've imported some data. Let's go to design view, and you notice one thing. I've left the ID number there. We're not actually ever going to use it, but it doesn't hurt to just keep it. But I've made driver name the primary key. So if ID number was the primary key like this, just right click in this area next to driver name, make that a primary key. And again, a reminder, primary key is that one piece of information that is different for each record. So for each driver, the name is different. So if you had 2 drivers named Sing, you might want to call it Sing1, Sing2. You can't have 2 that are the same. So the driver name will be linked to the driver name in the orders master so that we can pull records back and forth. Okay, there's a couple things I want to show you here. Take a look at phone number. Now with phone number, when you type it in, you don't actually want to have to type in bracket 905 bracket space 555 dash 1212. You want to just type in the digits 905 555 1212, and Access will automatically put it inside brackets with the spaces and the dash. That's called an input mask, and I want to show you how to do one. Okay, so let's delete the one I have here. If you click on phone, it is text, it is size 14. But go to input mask. So input mask means as you input something, it'll automatically force it into a certain pattern. So let's have a look. There's 3 little dots over here. Click on them. Save it. And there's some ready-made input masks that are provided for you, and they are US in nature. For example, the phone numbers are unique to North America. You can always go to Google and download an input mask for international phone numbers. And you notice social security number is US, so if you wanted to do a Canadian social insurance number, you can download that little code from the internet, and the same thing goes with postal code versus zip code. So let's try phone number. Click next. Okay, that's good. Click next. And then answer how you want the value saved. Well, we want it to look like this, right? So click next and finish. And let's save the table. Okay, so it will work. So let me demonstrate. When I go to phone number in that view, okay, and I'll just delete this phone number to demonstrate. When I go into it, I just have to type in 905 555 3322. And you see, it automatically put that into a mask. And we could do a similar one for postal code as well. So let's save this, go back to design view. The one for postal code has been provided to you in the data dictionary, and it looks like this. So if you just copy, you can just paste it in here and it will work. And I just got that from the internet, right? There we go. So it looks like that. Let's save it, close it, and what we're going to do now is take the data from the driver master and link it into orders master. So if you have a look, we have the order masters table, and of course we're using a field in there called driver. What I want to be able to do is not just type in the name of the driver, because obviously I'm going to forget the name or I'll make a mistake. I want to be able to have a drop down box that looks something like that, right? So I created a driver master table for you. Now it's actually a mini table, but it has more fields in it, so I called it master. It doesn't really matter what the name is. So it's similar to country, but in country we only had one column of information that linked into the orders master table. So have a look at the driver master table. I actually created more than one field. Now the one field that is absolutely important is the driver name, because this matches up with the driver name in the orders master table. If you remember, it was just one column. But associated with the driver, I have other information like hire date, the number of years you've had your license, are you certified for transportation of dangerous goods, do you drive a forklift, do you have a Nexus card, and so on. So I have all of this information, and I want to link this into the orders master table. Now let's go to the Home tab, Design View, and I just want to show you. I set the driver name as a primary key. Remember, this used to be primary key? I just right-click on driver name, set that as a primary key, because that is the one unique piece of information. There are no two names that are exactly the same, and based on that, all this other information would be true. It's a primary key, and I'm going to link that into the orders master table. So let's close this, and here's how you do it. Double click on orders master table and go to design view. So there's a driver's field right here, and make sure this size 10 matched up exactly with the size 10 on the driver master table. Remember, the two fields have to be exactly the same, and that's why we have a data dictionary to begin with. So if you recall from a previous tutorial, we changed the field type to lookup wizard, right? You're going to do exactly the same thing. So you do want to look up the field in a table. Click next. Which table is this information coming from? Well, the driver master. Next. And out of all of these fields in the driver master, what's the one piece of information that also exists in the orders master where you want to link it to? Well, we want a drop down box based on driver name. So click, send it over to the right. Next. I'm not going to sort the values, although you could if you like. Next. These are my driver names. Good. Next. And finish. And of course you have to save everything at each step. And if you get some error messages like data might be lost or so on, that's a standard. Just click either yes or no or close to get out of all of those. Okay. Back to the form, the order master form. Let's have a look there. Let's take a look at driver. Right there. There's not a drop down box because you need to actually make the change that you made to your table inside your form. And I'll show you how simple it is. Okay, let's go to design view. Here's the field. Let's delete it. Go back to add existing fields, and all you have to do is take driver and put it back. So I like to put it out here first. Let's fix it up a little bit like this, and then drag it into position. Okay, whatever technique you like to use, and I think that looks pretty good. Let's have a look. Let's save it, go back to this view, and it actually works. So when you're designing and building, you would anticipate connecting fields from one table to another in advance so that you can actually avoid having to go back and forth on the forms. Now let's close this, and something else interesting happens. So the form is here, and you can view the data in this particular way, scrolling left and right using these buttons here, or putting custom buttons over here. Let's close that and actually go to the tables. Remember, whatever data you see and add to or change to in these forms gets updated in these tables, which looks just like Excel. So I want to show you the driver master. Now remember, for each order, there's a driver that drives it, right? And the driver information is here. So let's take a look. Click. These are all your drivers. But now, because you've linked this field into the orders master, it knows all the shipments that a particular driver has driven. So let's take a look at Fisco. The little plus sign over here, click it, and it'll give you a record of all the different orders that this particular driver has driven. And you can use that information in a variety of different ways. And any changes you make here, in fact, will be changed throughout all the tables.